Hey, and welcome to today's episode. And it is that time of the month to talk all things transit. So, Yvette, welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited to be here in this new year, Human Design New Year. Fresh into it we are.
Yeah. New year, new you, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling the New Year vibes a lot more than I was in the traditional New Year.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I feel like it
Big
was
time.
I think it was about the 20th. I was like, oh my God, all of a sudden I'm
Switch.
getting fired
I'm
up. I'm ready.
totally.
Yeah.
I'm like, there was a switch. I mean, I was, for those that listen regularly to the transits, you may know I was in Europe in the last recording, and that trip, I got back a week before the Human Design New Year. So that could be related, but I've definitely felt like this massive, I am so ready to get back to making an impact and serving and doing all the things I love doing in my business.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think one of the other big things for me was I felt a real shift in my energy from, I think probably the last quarter of last year, I was, really feeling quite challenged with stuff that I was going through. I was healing a lot of childhood trauma. And I'd really let my mindset and then ultimately my frequency slide. And that had really come to my attention in January. And in January, I'm like, okay, I'm going to slowly work on this. And I did a bunch of things too, did a lot of Site K. So if you're an HDX person out there, we are bringing Kerry, who does my Site K. She's going to do a quarterly Site K session in HDX for everybody because this stuff is freaking amazing. And then by the time the new year kicked in, I was like, right, I'm choosing power. And I could just feel this whole, like, it's time to shift. It's time to shift into the power. And I'm really, really pumped. So let's talk.
Let's talk about it as we go through this. So a couple of reasons that we are likely feeling that is, yes, we've moved in 1 week ago today, pretty much into Human Design New Year. And everything transit-wise really tracks with this energy. And in particular, the last two transits have been the 60 and then the 41. So these energies are very much around putting the things in place to really set you up for massive success. They both have that flavour. I took it really seriously. I think because we do this work together and I've tracked the transit so much over the last couple of years that you just can't ignore the validity and the power that you can connect to when you're really aware of it, right? So, I made decisions once more based on the transits, such as, I could be relaunching a program right now, which was my initial thinking, but no, I really feel this need to sort out the back end of my business, make sure that, I had some things going on with my email deliverability being low. I'd started using Facebook ads more, and so more people were coming through and not getting their emails, and I'm like, oh. But I just made the commitment that this is the energy that we're in. It's about taking that moment to make sure that things are set up correctly so that this year can be abundant and flow effectively. And so I don't know if you felt this as well, but that's been my big theme for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I love that because what's been really interesting working with the coach that I'm working with, he keeps, especially in the beginning, he was really saying, like, is your business ready? Like, if we do this work, is your business ready? And one of the really cool things of going through this process is like, my business is so ready. So
you've got tea. Come on.
I do have tea. I have tea, and I have Sherelle, who is our other human, who is just a mini tea, but incredible. Yeah. And I have, Amanda, my incredible PR person, and then our beautiful coaching team. Yeah. So, and I kept saying to him, I'm like, it's just me. Once I sort this stuff out.
I'm the handbrake.
I feel like I've definitely become so aware of how ready my business is, and I've never felt At the beginning of the year, I've never been in this position before.
That's so cool. And it's a real process. Like this is,
it is a process.
For those that have a newer
especially
business,
as a fucking line 3. Like as a line 3, do you know how much experimentation goes on?
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'm like scary 6 years into entrepreneurship now, and there's still been these kinks, and largely it's me knowing that the kink is there and thinking it's too hard to sort it out and putting it on the back burner. So, you know, for us to have the freedom and the abundance that we desire, this is less about you, Em, because you've gotten there. We can't ignore these things. We just can't.
Because it's not about the thing. It's not about whatever the problem we think is, or we've got to get the marketing right, or like. So right now in my business, I actually had a situation where a leading, like one of the top people who sell programs, really successful entrepreneur, actually approached me to ask who did my marketing. And I was like, well, Taylor, actually. And they were like, amazing. Can we hire her? And she was like, nah. So like for me, I'm being mirrored, like everything is at the best possible level. But it's me, you know, like if I want to, I'm ready to go to this next level. And for me, my next level is completely guided by my heart and my soul and my authenticity, you know, like the other thing I've really been diving deep into, and I'm so excited to share this with my mastermind starts next week. So my mastermind crew are going to see all the first release of this incredible content, which is all about bringing, well, it's my transformational human design, but at the next level and really focusing on manifesting. Like, how do we manifest really?
Brilliant.
And it's because I've been practicing, like, hang on a second, like when I got derailed over here, the even though it was completely about relationship, it completely affected my business. And, you know, I actually talk a lot about this thing that I call the elephant in the room. You have to deal with the elephant in the room, even if it's, like you're saying, not something you want to deal with, or you think it's not relevant to the business. It's absolutely relevant to the business. So I feel like we are so in this time. We just had that freaking, you know, amazing alignment on the 25th with all the planets basically in alignment, inviting us to say, what do you want? Like, what do you want to create? Because you need to clear this energy or clear your frequency so that you can create those things. So at the end of the day, the way that you're going to know your greatest potential and have your greatest success is being the most authentic version of you. So our job isn't to do something, it's to be something and to basically clean up everything that's getting in the way of that, you know, transmission that's coming from us.
It's so funny, this language, you bring me back. So my background, we both worked in media agencies, and my role was digital marketing, and so very data analytical about deciding, you know, which websites, which formats, all of that to drive online results. That was the last iteration of my career. And we talked, and it's so funny because it's just so aligned. We talked about a lot. We talked about frictionless. We need to have a frictionless experience for the customer to come through the process. And it's the same thing that you're talking about. Is the friction doesn't need to be data. The friction is, it can be mindset.
Yeah.
The friction can be email deliverability, but the truth is there is friction, and it's about really seeing where is the friction that I need to smooth out for this to be easy.
Yes. And everything that I'm teaching now, my mastermind HDX, is exactly this. And because what I realize is that we are all born with our original frequency. We are born programmed for this epic life that our heart and soul is called in, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is that our conditioning, these external forces, basically knock our frequency off, like dial the fucking dial, you know, like, and our role is to come back to that place where we're in our original frequency, aka authenticity, so that all of a sudden we're not in resistance, we're not trying. Like, I'm a classic. You know, the thing that that I trip myself up with the most is because I try so hard. You know, like someone called me an A-type personality.
Power
like,
over force.
Yeah, right. I don't think I'm an A-type personality. And I'm like, oh, yeah, well,
really?
maybe. So for me, it's like, right, now I can see the original, like the actual layers of how this, you know, frequency, how we feel, what is going on in our subconscious mind, what is going on in our thinking, creating our feeling, and putting this, you know, and fucking with our dial. So ultimately, we actually, and this is why human design, because I believe human design is that blueprint of our original frequency.
Yeah.
And once we understand the blueprint and we understand the mind and how we've got to reprogram the subconscious mind in alignment with this original frequency, because it was when we first popped out.
Yeah.
Then that's when everything becomes, like you say, frictionless. So it just becomes easy. It becomes flow. You know, there's something I really wanted to do, and I spoke about it about 18 months ago, and I'm not going to talk about exactly what it was yet, but it was just something I put out there. I'm like, I really want to do this thing. And a leading expert has literally opened a conversation about doing this thing with them. I'm like, that was so easy. But again, it was in authenticity.
I
didn't try.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't try. Yeah. I have high self-worth in this area. I know my design and I live my design every day.
Yeah.
So I know what this person needs and wants from me. So, you know, like, I just think this is the thing, you know, this is the year, especially kicking it off with that planetary alignment. Like, this is the year, people, to really, get back to that original frequency.
I love that.
And do you like my new term? I'm coining the term
original frequency.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's very aligned with my signature program, the Frequency Project. So, you know, I'm all about it.
I love it. So good.
So we're also lining up all of this energetic stuff. We're on the cusp of the quarter of initiation as well. So this comes through in 6 days' time, when I think it's with the gate 13. So it's the very next gate coming through the sun transit. So this takes us into this energy of human potential fulfilled through the mind. Now, that doesn't mean the thinking mind. It can be spiritual awareness. It can be this greater desire to feed our minds with knowledge, with whether that's esoteric, whether that's integrating wisdom from spiritual dynamics, but we're in that mode of really taking things in and really looking at what sparks our curiosity, not just for ourselves, but to empower others as well.
Yeah, I love that. I always, it's one of the first things I learned about my design, because I'm in this quarter, like I'm a planning one, cross of planning one. And it just made so much sense because, and my core talent is the 43, so it's insights. So there's so much, and I've got the 16, which is all about mastery, like, you know, building knowledge. And I feel like that is so true for me, because I'm the person who I love to contemplate the big ideas. I love to build, you know, experiment and then build those solutions, like my profile. And then once it kind of moves into like manifestation, like into, you know,
materializing.
Yeah. It's almost like I don't have the same energy for that, you know, like I love to be at the beginning of things. And I'll do it for me, and I'll do it.
It sounds like very line 3 as well.
Exactly. And working with private clients, you know, I'm a person who I love to work with private clients for like 3 months, not 12 months, you know, because I feel like I love to help initiate all of the ideas and the knowledge and give them the framework, you know, like my experiment model to experiment, and then like be like, come on, you're the expert, you do it.
You go and make it happen. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. So that's something that this new energy we may be feeling is this greater curiosity and desire to learn more, invest in more programs. I don't know if you still got spots, but join the mastermind with Emma. It's full. Sorry, you can't do that. But find ways to really continue your journey of discovery.
You can come join HDX or the Authentic Success Club of mine. You can come and join. $27 a month. It's a bargain.
I mean, so cost effective. Love it. So that's where we're moving into. So just to backtrack a little bit on January, in early January, we do have a little bit of this more ambitious type of energy that comes through. So, we start with the 38. So right at New Year's Eve, it's like this gate of the fighter, like getting clear on what's worth fighting for. And then moving from that, after that, there's the 54. So very, very visionary, ambitious type of energy. So I think, the way it plays out is the early part of January, it's more like, I want this, I'm going to go for it. And then, but not the action. It's just the desire. And then mid-month, we start pulling back, and there's the 61, which is more about inner truth. It's more of a reflective energy. The 50 shows up. So that can come through as like this the 60 shows up. So it's more about that more reflective energy of pulling back and really thinking about, have I got the structure in place? Then we get into the 41, which is known as, the 41, which is known as the gate of contraction. But it's really more of this, okay, I've had the ambition. I've really looked at the big picture. I know what I want. But then this middle of January aspect is, I'm just going to calm my farm and put the structure in place, make sure that I'm actually aiming at the thing that I really want, not just something my brain has told me that I want.
Yeah.
And then that brings us to now. That really brings us to now, where the next big theme I have to say that comes through is emotions. We are moving into the season of emotions.
Mm.
Yeah, and you get this, you're a solar plexus.
I have been contemplating the solar plexus so much.
Have you?
Yep,
yeah.
So much, especially because of the experiences I've had the last few months.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off, so you keep
going.
No.
I'm just from a bigger picture perspective, as we kind of move out of January and into February, the biggest shift you may feel, and I really remember this from last February, is more emotional. Especially, one thing I always think is true is if you're a non-emotional, you may experience more emotion than you used to.
Are you looking to build a successful human design or astrology business? Do you wish that you had your own chart tool on your website so you don't have to send people somewhere else to get it? BodyGraph.com provides all the resources you need to turn this vision into a reality. We use this incredible software in our business to provide charts and custom reading reports at the click of a button, generate leads, and bring in lots of passive revenue. BodyGraph.com has already helped coaches and entrepreneurs generate over $2.5 million in revenue. If you're ready to take your business seriously, start with a free trial and use the code HumanDesignPodcast to get 30% off for 6 months. Here's what you can do with BodyGraph.com. Embed stunning charts directly into your website, build personalized lead magnets to grow your email list, create and sell detailed reading reports, and even use their free website builder to get started fast. BodyGraph.com is the ultimate all-in-one platform for building your human design or astrology business. If you're ready to join the community of successful entrepreneurs, visit bodygraph.com and start building your dream business today. Follow the link in the show notes and use the code HumanDesignPodcast to get 30% off for 6 months. So, one of the things I've really been contemplating with manifestation and being an emotional being. So for those of you out there, nearly half of the population is emotional and half of the population is non-emotional. And one of the things that I've been experimenting with, obviously personally, but I'm only one person, I'm only a survey of one, but I've been doing my research with both emotional and non-emotionals. I think one of the things that we need to understand is, number one, we are in this time where the solar plexus mutation is happening. Mm-hmm. Why is it happening? What is it here to teach us? And what I believe in my opinion, what it's here to teach us is that we have to stop letting our emotions run us, because we are moving into a time where we become more aware that what we feel is what we create, because it creates our frequency.
So true.
So for non-emotionals, for you guys, when you feel things, when you're manifesting, you can be like, yep, this is how I feel about X. okay? So you have this clarity of emotion, you know? Yes, other people's emotions can influence you, but let's keep it super simple. You can step out of their aura and boom, it's done, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the things that I've discovered is being an emotional being, we have to be very different when it comes to how we manage our emotions. And I do mean manage our emotions, because the traditional human design tells us, well, you just have to accept that you're in an emotional wave and you're an emotional person and just deal with it. And I'm like, fuck that. Because if I actually do that, because I just did that last quarter of last year, and it was a shit show, people. So one of the things...
Too much waiting and not enough resolving the tension in you.
Fuck me, right? So one of the things that I've really been playing with, and I've been working with this with my coach, because, you know, he's not a human design person. And he's like, you need to do something about these emotions of yours. And so I was like, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? And one of the things that I've really understood is that we have an experience. We have so much more capacity to be, and I don't like the word control, but that's the words coming through, to manage, I'm going to say manage our emotions than we think we do as emotional beings. So one of the things that I've really become aware of is that manifesting, it's coming from our frequency. If we do not manage our emotions, and that means that as emotional beings, what is our emotional hygiene? We have to be so aware of our emotional hygiene, because we might want to manifest something one day, but it depends where we are in our emotional wave. And then what happens is we might be putting out the aligned frequency, and then we hit an emotional low, and then that just slows everything back down again. And it's fucking frustrating, let me tell you. Yeah. So I think there's this big journey, and again, I'm going to be teaching a lot of this. There's this big journey that emotionals need to go on, of really understanding, what am I repressing? What am I overindulging? And what does managing my emotions mean to me? How can I be in alignment with the emotional wave and equally not let it run my life? Because most emotional beings are letting their emotion run their life and making their life much harder than it needs to be. That's my opinion.
That's your theory. I'm just trying to think about how that works for a non-emotional, and therefore, because your feelings are part of your manifestation process, what's the opportunity, I guess, for a non-emotional to lean into emotions or manage their emotions more proactively? I'm just thinking this through in real time.
That's a great question, and I've contemplated that a lot. So obviously a lot of my work is to do with the subconscious mind, right?
Yeah.
So your opportunity as a non-emotional is that you can, and I saw this in my training, I've seen this for years, where who I now know are non-emotionals, my non-emotional friends would have big subconscious change really quickly, whereas the non-emotionals wouldn't, because it would depend where they are in their wave, because they have a filter over what's going on in their life because of that wave that influences how they feel. Whereas for you guys, and I see, because I am surrounded by non-emotional people, like I'm in a house, and when everyone's here, you know, kids are here, everyone in my team is here, this is a packed fucking house, and I'm the only emotional one. And we obviously talk about, I know, right? And we obviously talk a lot about manifestation. And if I look at all of my non-emotionals, they will say, oh, this is what I'm creating, and boom, you know? Whereas for me, when I say this is what I'm creating, it's just as easy, but it looks like it takes more time. And I wonder if it's
because you go in and out of, is this going to happen? And it's affected by your emotions.
Yeah. So all
right, well, I'm going to call that an empowering thing for non-emotionals.
Yeah, I love it.
To get
and
on
I reckon
board
the biggest challenge for me is the things that I manifest the easiest are the things that I'm so completely neutral about. And neutrality is something that I've learned recently is one of the most important factors in manifesting what you want.
All right, good. Well, can you teach me how to be neutral, please?
Yes, I certainly can. I will be teaching it in HGX. So
awesome. I need that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, back to you.
All right. Okay. Let's quickly talk about the outer planets as we move into February, and then we'll get into the Sun and Mercury. So it's funny, you mentioned the 16 already on this call. Jupiter is actually in the 16 right now. And I think some of this, we're doing it, we're like, I know I'm certainly in this mastery of skills energy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a bit of a generator thing as well, but
yeah,
I think Jupiter being in the 16 is having an effect. It's like it really plays with that structure and setting things up correctly, that like the mastery
100%,
piece as well.
100%.
So,
and the enthusiasm, like, oh my God, I just
gotta
fucking
make
want to work this out. I got to make it happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Welcome to my internal world.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, there's another thing going on with me at the moment, which is determination. It's like, even if this is hard, this will happen, and I'm going to be happy about the challenges on the way.
Yeah, fuck me. That's me too. I was just telling you before I hit record, I'm like, this is now the greatest lesson in my life. I'm loving every second of it. Every trigger
will
comes
happen.
through. Yeah, every trigger.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's an opportunity to love more, to grow more.
It's going to happen. And everything that I'm learning the hard way is going to pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So the second half of the month, Jupiter is in the 35. And as I was doing this, I'm like, that's pretty cool for you, because I know you're going to be adventuring in the second half of February. And, the 35, it's very experiential energy. Yeah, big 50 coming up. Being on the other side, it's nothing to dread. It's actually
I'm not
fun.
At all. I actually feel I'm so at the beginning of my next iteration
chapter
of life.
Yes,
life is sweet.
Yeah, I would say life is sweet in my 50s. So that is what's happening in Jupiter. So pretty great energy, and Jupiter is prosperity and abundance. So enthusiasm, mastery, and experience. It's all very, very, very lovely. You ask me. Saturn, which is more of our something to watch out for. So funny, I'm just having a moment of clarity as I say this, is in the 22 all month. So I always look at the shadow frequency when it's Saturn, because it's more of this what's going to slap you around the face. Well, the shadow of the 22 can look a lot like addiction. And I said this to you before we started recording. Probably my biggest challenge right now is I've gone from 5 weeks of traveling and having this incredible adventure experience, and now I'm feeling very addicted to working. So that's just a bit of a watch out, like this more like, yes, skills, mastery, get out and enjoy life coming through from Jupiter, but a bit of a watch out. Don't get so addicted to whatever you're doing to maybe self-soothe or unhealthy, unresourceful behaviours you might be getting into at the same time.
Yeah, and I think also because it's the 22, like follow the mood, you've got the mood to do the thing, then great, but pay attention if you don't,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then we have, yay, because we love the 55. Well, this is the month of the 55.
Love it.
So it's going to show up around the 20th of February. Good timing while you're gallivanting.
Yeah.
And it is also going to be hanging out in Mercury from the 23rd to the 26th of the month. So really lovely time to connect. I just think spend some time connecting into the 55 and what it means for you. It's such a great teacher.
Yeah, it really is. It's I always love that it's the gate of abundance. It's the gate of like being authentically you. It's all about freedom in the gene keys. It's such a pivotal, beautiful energy. And in this acceptance of authenticity and abundance, it's also moody, it can be very melancholic. And it's that like acceptance of like your authenticity is all of you, I love it.
Yeah, awesome. And then if we look at the sun placements, as we record, and I'd say when you're listening to this, if you're listening soon after it's been published, we are in the 19. Bit more of a sensitive type of energy, and it also has themes of wanting to be of service. So you may find that the impact and the service side of business and life is what you're more focused on. It's also Oprah Winfrey's personality sun, which I always think is very telling if you explore the 19. It
Yeah,
feels
that's fascinating. Like it's because it's all about taking care of, the needs of the tribe,
yes.
and it's also one of um, the mammalian gates as well. Like it's one of the ones that plugs into the mammalian. So if you have it, then you'll tend to have good connection with animals, with dogs. And I have it. I have good connections with dogs and horses.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful one. I do think it's
Yeah.
also in its shadow. You've got to be super careful because it overgives. So it gives too much
Yeah.
to other people's needs and not
Yeah.
enough to itself.
Yeah. That I feel that. And I'm sure Oprah has suffered from that in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Then from the 2nd, so pretty early in February, we move into the 13, which is also when the next quarter starts that we were talking about. The 13 is, so we've been in root center gates, by the way, for most of January. The 13 is a G center gate. Connects to the throat, which makes sense because whilst it's about listening, it is also about stories. So it's a great storytelling energy that is coming through in the beginning of February, which I think is great for marketing and leaning into more stories and actually being open and sharing your own experiences. Then we get into let's ride our emotions for the rest of the month. So that kicks off with the 49, which comes through on the 8th. So this is a very powerful energy. It's principles. It's revolutionary kind of energy.
Yeah.
It's actually the other half of the 19 in the channel there, sitting between the root and the solar plexus. I know so many people that are entrepreneurs that have the 49 out there, like fighting the good fight. I think
Really?
yeah, I really do. I think
I
it's a
love
very,
that.
yeah,
It's
it's a
also the
pretty,
4919 is one of the really nice like intimacy channels.
oh, I didn't
So
know
if you
that.
have like I actually have the 19
Yeah,
and
I have the 49.
yeah, right. That's so cool. Well, we could be like two peas in a pod.
Well, there
Because
we are.
yeah, because the in an intimate relationship, like these are often people that literally are in each other's pockets. Like they just love
Wow.
doing everything together. It's a very but the 19 is the one that if anything goes wrong, the 19's like, let's work on it. And the 49 is like, no, I'm out.
No, I'm moving on.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah. So it's like, it's beautiful. It's one of the really beautiful channels, the electromagnetics that comes together in a relationship.
Wow, I love that.
But yeah, how they deal with challenge in a relationship.
So this channel is going to be a lot on for anyone that has the 19 or the 49. This channel is going to be on a lot in the early part of February.
Yeah, wow. Bring that
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Then after that, we go into gate 30, the gate of feelings. So that's going to be showing up from the 12th to the 18th of Feb.
Yeah, so
I know from
expectations.
Yeah, and I also know from last year that I felt like I was a train wreck for a lot of February emotionally.
I feel
like
what
the hell?
I don't have the 30, but I hear like from a lot of people like it's challenging, like it's beautiful because it's all about desire and it's all, it's like, but it's also that energy of putting expectations on how things are going to turn out. And when they don't turn out that way,
and then
it's
feeling
like,
so disappointed.
Exactly. Like, like the beauty of it. So be prepared. Don't put expectations on experiences that you have. Like it's all that collective experiential sensing circuit. And just be in the feeling of it instead of having things to turn out a certain way.
Yeah, great advice.
Because it's going to hurt if it doesn't turn out the way you expect.
And watch out for all you non-emotionals that don't actually like to confront emotional things. You may have some interesting moments in the second half of February. Well, the 30, I would say, is probably the soft spot, which is mid-month.
Okay.
Then after that, we go into the 55. So still solar plexus.
Yeah.
But feels more optimistic, a lot more like, abundance, freedom, connects to the root. Actually, the 30 connects to the root as well. In fact, there's this run of root solar plexus gates that are connected. But the 55, we said this earlier, it's a very governing energy in the whole system, and one to get to know. It's a perfect time to spend time with it, regardless of whether it's in your chart or not.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of kind of like, not introspective, but it is worth contemplating on a deeper level.
Yeah, and it is the gene key that Richard Rudd talks about a lot, because it's like the gene key that takes us into the new paradigm. And he actually talks about it as like there's a prophecy that sits within the 55 about how we will be two different types of human as we go into 2027. So the 55 is really I encourage contemplation, whether you have it or not. I don't have it, but I still love it.
Yeah. I have it in my moon, and it makes me laugh. It's like, oh, no wonder I'm so obsessed with freedom.
Yeah. Me too, but that's because I'm a freaking manifesting generator. I need so much freedom.
Yeah, no, my personality moon is the 55, and it definitely motivates me big time. Okay, and then we have birthday coming through, gate 37. So the very last week of February is Emma's birthday. That's what it is. And it's, so community, family, tribal energy. Want to talk about more, Em?
I was just thinking as you were saying it, I'm like, it's just perfect, because I've got a small group of friends that we're going to go like vanning around Tasmania and hiking. Yeah, van life, hiking and, kayaking and, doing some fun stuff. And then I've got even more friends coming for the weekend and it just feels like my big extended family. So it's going to be super fun.
Special. So special. Yeah. The best. I went to, and remember, because you were there briefly, but I had Uluru for my 50th. Gosh, that was magic. It's I think it's such a big milestone birthday. It's so nice to be away with people that you love to experience that.
Yeah, I'm so pumped about 50. I am so deep in my fucking Chiron return. Woo! And I'm like, this is great. Like, talk about healing my childhood wound. Like, I am fucking tits deep in it. But I love it because I know that I've got all this energy helping me move through and pop out the other side to use this as wisdom to give to others. My line 5 is just like gagging to universalize all of this stuff. Like, I wish I could talk about it more. And when I can, I will. Yeah. So that I can help so many people with it. So exciting.
Love it. I'm just you're dropping a few clues, and I'm loving what you're putting down. Awesome. So that's the sun transit. Lots of emotional energy coming through. Highlight, quarter of initiation beginning, learning, tapping in and feeling your feelings, abundance, like, some beautiful energy, but also could be a bit of a sensitive time.
Yeah.
Mercury, similar, obviously, Mercury, and depending on where we are moving through retrograde or not, we're not in retrograde. We start the month with gates being a little behind where we've been. So we've already been through the 41 in the sun transit. That's what's going to be at the beginning of Mercury. So this is going to create some extension maybe of that energy that we were talking about, with the more preparing for growth, preparing for what's ahead. And then comes the 19. So we were speaking about that being Oprah's energy. That's also going to follow. And then we switch over, and there's a couple of gates that are what I would call a double up, where they're in the sun and in Mercury at the same time. And it's just going to heighten things, and they're emotional gates. So it's going to be
so it's got to be a lot of emotional communication.
Yes.
Right? About things you've already tried to communicate about.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's gonna be happening from the 9th to the 15th. So shout out to everybody. Emotional energy doubling up in Mercury and the sun transit. So this means you may feel a bit more fired up around your communication. So it's a bit of a watch out, I would say.
Yeah, watch out. Or just be aware of it.
Be aware of it, and maybe lean passion and enthusiasm instead of frustration.
Yeah, exactly. I've been talking about my six a lot recently, and I'm like, I'm so aware of my six. Like when I'm in my shadow, I will pick a
Yeah.
fight for connection, and I don't do it with anyone. I only do it with there's like one person I will still do it with,
Yeah.
and it's so funny. I'm like, oh fuck, I just really want
Did it
actual
again.
resourceful connection, but not getting it. So
Yeah.
picking a
Let's
fight.
just.
Stop picking fights. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Learn the lesson.
Yeah. I don't know how we missed this, but I didn't talk about the fact that the nodes are in actually the 6 and the 36 all month.
Woo!
Yeah. Somehow I skipped over it, but just may as well share it now.
Yeah.
The nodes have a little bit of fiery energy going on. So both the 6 and the 36, I'm like, all together.
Yeah. Well, they're programming partners,
Yeah.
I think that that means it's going to be a big month,
Yeah.
like this is if we're walking the path. So I always think of the nodes as it's the path that we're walking of this 6 to the 36, like in their shadow. That's like, conflict to crisis, like,
Yeah.
whew.
Yeah.
But what we
Yeah.
want to think about is our option on this path is to be more diplomatic, to be able to sit above and listen to others before getting into conflict,
Yeah.
and being, compassionate, like really
Yeah.
being more humane about things, like really being able to put ourselves in other people's shoes as opposed to being like, oh my God, poor me, I can't believe this is happening, like
Yeah.
seeing it from this place. Because the 36 really builds like good, like resilience. This is an energy that, and it's so compassionate at its highest expression. So they're the things that I'd really look out for, because it is very emotional. It can go very victim mentality very fast for both of them. So pay attention to, wow, do I need to actually rise above here? Do I need to step up instead of being in the conflict?
Yeah.
And do I need to put myself in someone else's shoes instead of being like, oh my God, my life is fucked, like, because that's just, you're in the shadow and you have this potential, this energy that's holding space. So yeah, the collective majority might be in the shadows, but it doesn't mean you have to be in the shadows. So, rise up to the higher energies and allow that to carry you through the month.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, glad we got there with that, because I think it's another aspect of what's going to be coming through in February, that it's the awareness is really important for us.
Yeah.
So the second half of the month from a Mercury perspective, so mid-month, after we've been through the 49 and the 30, we move into the 55. And then this is around the time that it starts to switch again. So we start feeling Mercury come through in advance of the Sun transit. So we have the 55, freedom, abundance. We love the 55. Then we move into the 37. So that more community, connection, family energy from the 18th to the 20th. Then we leave the emotional center briefly and go up to the 63. So that's an energy of doubt, or it can be more positive and be more about inquiry, being inquisitive. And then we have the 22. So we talked about the 22 already, very race, emotional energy. And then just the final day of the month, we have the 36. So I think the biggest theme is undeniably that it's going to be emotions, solar plexus. It's a very solar plexus month.
Yeah. And I feel like even that whole, you're talking about where Mercury kind of gets ahead of the sun. Like also this is our opportunity to communicate about things before we get there,
Yeah.
I think that too. I often, you'll often hear me say, I always feel like my energy is just a bit ahead, like I feel things before, right? But I do wonder sometimes, like, is that just Mercury? It's that I'm communicating about this thing.
Yeah, it's like the energy's coming
landed
through and you're starting to verbalize it, especially because you've got a defined throat center. It's probably coming through.
Yeah.
And you're actually communicating with that throat center energy and Mercury being present in advance of the major energy.
Yeah, so pay attention, like those of us that are sacral beings, what to be talking about in response. Those of us that are not sacral beings, like what are you feeling other people want to talk about? those with undefined throats, what are you feeling other people want to talk about? Defined throats, what do you feel you want to talk about? Like, I think paying attention to those energies, because it could also give you a beautiful insight into what's coming.
Yeah.
That's the way, for me personally, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Like the topics that I start to, Mercury encourages me to communicate about, I will be like, rightio, be aware
Yeah.
that that's coming.
Yeah, and I think if you're somebody who is a marketer, be also aware that the collective energy is more emotional, that people are going to be riding through waves of emotions. So it is a time to be even more vulnerable and authentic in what you're communicating to connect into others.
Yeah, I love that. And helping them have an emotional experience that they want to have, as
Yeah,
opposed to an emotional experience they don't
they
want to have,
don't.
maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. So that's February transits in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Well, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I love that.
Enjoyed every second of it. So thank you everyone for being here. I trust you got what you needed, and thank you so much, Yvette, for everything that you do every month. It's just been
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed it. I so look forward to having you on the next podcast. Bye for now.
Bye for now.